Ladies and gentlemen, Bevo Forti.
Hello, mates. How are you today?
Hi, Bevo. How you doing?
I noticed that your mate there is wearing a nice pair of goggles.
The Barstow.
Well, good. I'm glad to be on your show. I'm really happy to be on the vintage. Obviously, I'm on the vintage side. So if you look at me, I'm basically, I think I'm 39 now. I'll be turning 40 next year. But I'm really happy to be here to talk about some old stuff and some new stuff and any kind of stuff.
Thanks for coming on, Bevo.
Yeah, so
just remember one thing, gentlemen, okay? I've been doing this for 48 years going to races, so I may be a little hard of hearing.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Snap.
So I usually we start at where your career started, Bevo, but I've got to ask you, how long does it take for this is my question I wanted to ask you. When you go to a Supercross meeting, how long does it take you to get through the pits? Because you're so famous in America, you know, the Czar of Motocross. It must take you hours to get across a pit.
Well, when I wear my disguise, I can walk right through. But obviously, with my physique, it's pretty hard to disguise myself because I'm not the size of a normal motocross person. But it's kind of flattering to have people come up to me and say, "Hey, how are you?" It takes a while, and one of the questions that really throws me off is the guy goes, "Hey, do you remember in like 1982 you helped me out, or you gave me a pair of goggles?" And I go, "Oh yeah." The guy's like 45 years old now, right? He said he gave him when he was a mini bike. On mini bikes, I go, "Yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday." You know, I mean, that's like probably 100,000 goggles ago.
Yeah. But what a great thing to do for somebody. You know, how many times they bought 100% products over those years?
I started with 100% about 10 years ago when it started, and I'm really happy to be with this company. One of the most important things about 100%, we're owned by enthusiasts. They understand the industry. Ludo, one of the owners, the founders, he actually rode the Paris Dakar. Now I heard that he took a track nap. Okay, I think he knocked himself out for about 5 minutes. And our other gentleman is Mark Blanchard, and he was the guy that actually designed the Dalmatian stuff for JT many years ago. He's probably one of the best designers in the industry. So, but they all love motorcycle. You know, at one time they owned one industry, and they ended up selling it. And Mark told me the reason I got back into it is I wanted to get a pit pass. And I said, geez, I'd have got you a pit pass, you know. But I'm very fortunate that I ended up with a company that's so into the sport.
Absolutely. Bevo, just educate me. Obviously, I remember, and many other people remember, the 100% adverts from the 70s and the 80s, and then they sort of disappeared for a good number of years. What happened?
Well, the story about 100% was it was owned by a gentleman called Drew Lulene, and he started out just making the sticker. And it became popular because every racer had it on their jersey. I mean, even Hannah opened up his jersey and he had the 100% on it.
Absolutely.
At that time, obviously, he had no competition because all he was doing was making stickers. And he was doing very well. And then he started making some numbers and T-shirts. And so what happened was he ended up selling the company to a larger company, obviously. And he ended up basically committing suicide.
Oh, wow.
Because he didn't want to, I guess he wasn't involved as much as he thought he would be involved. Everybody liked Drew. He was a real happy-go-lucky guy, and he ended up committing suicide, and he basically willed the trademark to Jim Hale from Axo.
Okay.
And so that lay dormant for all those years, and then Ludo came up with the idea of a goggle, and he thought the 100% would be a good name for it, and he made a deal and he got the trademark. That's why it lay dormant for so long.
Got ya. Okay.
And it's a great trademark because it's the email that I've been using is so easy to remember.
Well, I always said is when you look at a racetrack and you see all the banners, you don't have to be able to read because it's a number. You know, it just really just pops out because it's different than anybody else's. So I think the strategy was good, and I think it's a good thing to have because you do have to do 100% to win in any kind of racing, any kind of sport.
I think the timing was perfect as well. What was it? It must have been, I don't know, 10 years ago.
We're starting our 10th year right now.
Yeah, okay. I think the timing was perfect. Because of the vintage scene over here was exploding, and I would imagine you've got quite a big following from guys sort of my era who remember the name and want to buy the goggles. Well,
the thing is it was also good because I think the goggle industry was getting a little dormant. I mean, and they came out. We brought the mirrored lens back, which sort of disappeared. And one of the things was really, really successful is that we had one lens fits the whole line. So you didn't have to be a rocket scientist to go into a motorcycle shop and buy a lens, because normally people would go and say, hey, you have a lens for my goggle. Well, what kind is it? It's blue, So if they say 100%, then it was no problem. They could get it. So that was another success. But like I said, it was two enthusiasts saw an avenue and they went down that avenue.
Fantastic. I don't know if you could see on the screen there a message from Wobbly. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Another good guy who helps us out immensely at the VMXDN. To be honest, without him, we wouldn't be able to do Team USA as we do it. Another big enthusiast.
He's asking what's up. I'll tell you what's up. I'm having a lot of fun with you guys. I got to meet Adam about 3 days ago, and we've had more conversations probably than we have time on the show. And I met you also, David. So I really enjoy doing this because I went through the motorcycle industry when it was real fun, really big fun. You know, everybody. I was telling him a story about this guy named Big Dan, the T-shirt man, and he used to sell T-shirts, and at that time, you probably gave the promoter $100 and you were allowed to sell stuff. And he had this guy that helped him. His name was Uncle Mickey, and they'd sell out the T-shirts and then buy a 55-gallon drum of sangria, get a curtain rod, put a hole in it, and everybody was drinking sangria after the race. You know, and then obviously it evolved to everybody's got a personal trainer. You know, everybody's got a chiropractor to realign them, and it's definitely changed since when I first got in. In fact, I was telling Adam that sometimes when we would be leaving the bar, the team manager would pick up the bar bill. So it's really been a good ride for me. I've been doing it for 50 years.
Absolutely.
I expect now the team manager wouldn't mind picking up the bar bill because obviously most probably the riders are most probably have an orange squash or an energy drink, and that'd be about it.
The only way they pick up the the bill now is if you were at a juice bar, you know, or some kind of health food store. But I don't think they were actually would pick up an alcohol bar bill now.
So, Bevo, have you ever ridden? Did you used to ride?
Have I ever ridden? What, do you live in a cave? Of course I've ridden.
Listen.
No, I was the Virginia State Championship. I won the Virginia State Championship. I'm not going to tell you that there was only 3 people in the class and one was a girl, but I won. In the record books, it doesn't say any different. I was the champ one year. Yeah, well, the start was I bought a 1970 Suzuki Savage. There it is. What a beauty. What a memory. And I took that beauty out looking like that one day and ran into a little kid about 15 years old named John Savitsky. And he said, "Hey, you want to go trail ride with me?" And I said, "Sure." Well, at the end of the day, as you saw that headlight, that was smashed. The mirrors were knocked off. And I had a busted up knee. And I said, well, this is a lot of fun. It's more fun than I thought it was. And then he became a pro racer. And I went on with to be his mechanic on Bull Tacos.
Okay. That's the same John Stavitsky that went on to build the Supercross tracks.
Stadium Dirt Designs.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is our Bull Taco shop was called Bob's Bull Taco. And Bob's Bull Taco he had a garage, which there were the mom and pop shops for everything, everywhere, where you sit in the wintertime, you'd come in and basically sit around the darn fire and talk about what you were going to do in the spring. But he was also an undertaker. And he had the same phone. So we'd answer the phone and go, "Bob's Bull Taco," and we're looking for Miller's funeral home, you know. And so it was quite a deal in those days. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And then then we went out and raced, and he was a privateer for 5 years, and we rode Makos, Can-Ams, Carabellas, what else? Suzuki. Finally, after about, that's when the Japanese started making decent motorcycles. So then we were at a Suzuki, a Yamaha, a Honda. I mean, basically, when I go to the vintage, I go like to at the Supercross where they have the vintage stuff.
Yep.
I'll go over there and everyone will say, hey, look at these. And I go, well, I really like them, but I don't like looking at them because I pushed one of these bikes across a racetrack at Unadilla at least once, Back then, that I didn't know that if you rode your Mako and put it on the stand and you didn't have the breathing tube in, that your points would get wet. And the first Mako I had DNF'd on the stand. It was quite interesting back then.
So where was this? Where did you start riding?
On a Bull Taco.
Where
there was only, I don't know what it was, but there was only ever 3 people in the class I raced, So I went like one more checkpoint. My friend was with me, and he was on a vintage bike, and I was on the Bull Taco, and I got stuck in the mud, and I don't know if you realize that when you got a Bull Taco hot, it would go past top dead center and it'd actually go in reverse.
The reverse, yeah, I know. I've seen that.
The first time that happened to me, I'm going, whoa, there's something the matter with you. You think this bike's in reverse. And I was stuck in this mud puddle in the middle of Florida at the Alligator Enduro. And he came, and then I had to start thinking, what do you do? It's 1973 now. What could go wrong with this bike, right? So I pulled the kill button that was on the handlebar, and it started up, and I looked at him and I said, I ain't going any further than this, right? and he said, yeah, I'm going to take off. So I wanted to get out of there because I was in the swamps, and I figured there's going to be a bunch of pissed off alligators and snakes coming back here, and I don't want to be there when they come back. So I went to the next checkpoint. You're going, hey, I'm feeling pretty good. So I went one more, and that's why I won, because I told my buddy I was quitting.
So this was in
checkpoint.
South Carolina. You grew up.
Excuse me?
South Carolina. You grew up.
First time I was in Europe.
No. When did you start riding in South Carolina?
Yeah, when I moved down here about a year and a half ago.
Oh, got you.
I used to live in Pennsylvania for like 70 years, and we decided we better go somewhere where my bones won't freeze and break. So we came down to South Carolina. We live in North Myrtle Beach. It's pretty nice down here. Like I said, motorcycling has been good for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
How did the Works Yamaha team come about then, Bevo? How did you sort of go from, it wasn't very long before you was working at a Works Yamaha team?
Well, what happened was I stayed with Savitsky for 5 years. I had some offers to go work for Bull Taco, and I had some other offers, but I felt like he brought me to the dance, so I'm going to stay there till he would get a ride. And finally, the last year I was with him, we met Bob Hanna and Keith McCarty. Keith was Bob's mechanic at the time, and what we did was I would actually sleep on Keith's floor, and he would stay with Hannah on his floor. And Hannah was kind of using him as his training partner and all this other stuff. And it was that's how I got hooked up with Yamaha, because they offered me a job, and Savitsky got himself a ride with I think it was PDQ, one of the satellite teams back then. So I went with Yamaha. That's how I basically, because of Keith McCarty and the Hannah relationship with us, I got into work for Yamaha, and I worked there for 3 years. 2 years as a mechanic for Donnie Cantalupi. And then the big recession came in, and they cut the team from 7 down to 3. No, 7 down to 4. So then they decided, well, let's just make a truck that carries all the parts. So I got to drive the parts truck around.
Okay.
That was my Yamaha career. I won one race with Donnie. That was the Toronto Supercross. No, the Montreal Supercross. And then after that, I won one race with Ron Lachine when he lost his ride with Yamaha. And it was in between Yamaha and Honda. And we went to San Diego, and we worked on a stock bike and, fixed it all up the best we could. And he went out and won that Supercross that night. And then I went to being a goggle guy.
Bevo, on more than one occasion already, you've mentioned Bob Hanna, and for me, I can remember those the American magazines of the very late 70s and the early 80s. If there was a picture of Bob Hanna in there was generally a picture of you somewhere. What was Bob like to work with?
Well, Bob was a real serious guy at the racetrack, with a lot of fun off the racetrack, And basically, I worked on his he had schools, and I would work on his schools when I was doing the parts truck. And he's and when I ended up losing my job, I got laid off because the economy even went a little more south, and they got rid of the parts truck. And Bob left, so my force field left there. So I went up to Sun Valley, Idaho, where he was, and he says to me, he goes, "Listen, I could have been the first man friend in the industry. Okay, you know, everyone has these men friends now.
Yeah,
he definitely flies airplanes, and he said, I'll take a seat, the back seat out of my plane, and I'll give you $10,000 a year, and you can fly around with me." And I said, "Well, Bob, you know, I think I could do it on my own." And while I was up there, that's where Scott Goggles was, and they actually called me over and asked me if I wanted to be a rep. And that's when I met Scott Watanabe, who really helped me learn the business of not mechanicking, but the business side of it.
I'm going to have to interrupt you. Well, we got a special guest that's just popped on to say hello, Bevo. I hope you don't mind me bringing him in. Hang on.
Not unless if I owe him money. No, I don't owe that guy money. Hey, I want to ask you a question, Stanton. What the heck? Don't you have any money? That coat you had on under interview, the sleeves were all ripped.
My wife yells at me every day
for wearing that
because
coat?
I wear that old coat, and so it's just comfortable.
But when I saw that, I'm going, boy, I might have to send Jeff some money.
Bought me a brand new one.
He's supposed to be a farmer, but all I ever see is he's driving his truck around.
I'm having trouble hearing Stanton. He's kind of breaking up a little.
Yeah, he's got terrible internet out there.
Like where?
No,
because it's
gone.
new. I like my old, worn-out, raggedy old one.
We missed after that, Jeff.
You've got a bad internet connection, Jeff. Unfortunately, come back in when your bars go up.
No, I'm good now.
Oh, he's good now.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good now. I just went through a bad spot there. I'm almost home, so it's all good. But anyway, the old coat, it's like an old pair of undies. It just feels comfortable, so I wear it.
Wait a second. If I can recall, you never wore undies. I've seen
Bevo knows me too well. Do we know it? Does the rest of the country know about that, or the rest of the world know about that story?
Hey, I'm going to tell you, Jeff, when I was talking to Adam during the week, I actually told him when you were Tarzan at the lake in the swimming race with my son.
Really?
Yeah. But this may be PG, so I can't tell everybody you were naked.
Crikey, we're hearing it all tonight.
Yeah, so obviously last time when we interviewed Jeff, Jeff said that Bevo, you were like a father figure to him, and I thought as we were interviewing you, I thought it'd be great just to send Jeff a link and see if he wanted to pop on and, you know, reminisce and say hi. So thanks for coming on, Jeff.
Yeah,
well, I'm your father figure. Stop driving and texting.
Absolutely. Yeah, listen to your dad.
Hey, I want to ask you a question, Jeff. Would you like your dad to go on an adventure?
Go ahead. If either you or Dad want to go on an adventure ride, absolutely. But I'm not sure that either one of you, my real dad or yourself, is ready for an adventure bike.
Well, that's why it's called an adventure, isn't it?
That would be an adventure. I guess I would try to equip them with training wheels if we were to do that.
Oh, my goodness gracious. He's talking to the Virginia State champion, the alligator enduro champion, and he's going to put training wheels on my bike.
How many years ago was that alligator race?
I think 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, I mean, decades.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say that. How about 23 years ago, maybe?
Right, decades. I said decades. So.
Is it a well-used story, Jeff? Does he tell everybody he meets that story?
Absolutely.
Is that what you say when you can't understand them? Absolutely.
You're breaking up on me.
So, Jeff, Bevo was he a big part of your career? Vice versa, I suppose. You know.
Yes, we started our relationship in the early '80s when I was at Yamaha on a mini bike, and racing all Loretta Lynn's races, and started out an amateur career, and that just led into a great professional career. And yeah, we just did everything together. When I was at factory Honda, Bevo will tell you, we did dinners every night before the race, and he went to our dealer appearances. And I told you guys once before, we traveled everything in Europe together. We just everything we did. He went to all my races with me. So
I see you have your twin brother with you.
Yeah. That was my Sadie. She's tired of sitting in the truck. She's been in the truck for 5 hours, so she's just running down the driveway now.
I remember when you were telling the story. I watched your interview about you and your dad going to all the amateur races, but you failed to tell him about Mount Morris when you went down the downhill and woke up in Michigan.
Right. So, and I think I told everybody that, my dad and I traveled to all the professional, I turned professional in the end of '86. So the beginning of '86, we traveled to all the professional races and raced the national tracks just to get time on the tracks. And so we went to Pennsylvania. We raced the amateur race on Saturday. They did the professional race on Sunday, and they had an amateur race on Monday. And so jumped down this big downhill, endoed, ate my lunch, knocked myself out, woke up, thought I was Brock Glover. Yeah, woke up in Michigan, thought I was Brock Glover, like 5 hours later.
Oh my God, am I glad that didn't happen. I'm glad you snapped out of that you weren't Brock Glover. Oh my God.
So yeah, that was one of the many a times that, you knocked yourself out and woke up hours later. I was just reminiscing with Dave Arnold about that. I had a really bad one at the Honda test track one day, knocked myself out. It was just him and I testing one day. And woke up 2 or 3 hours later, and yeah, so we did a lot of crazy things back in the day that they don't get away with now.
No.
What were you two like on the road together? Did you look after? Did Jeff look after Bevo, or did Bevo look after Jeff?
Have you ever seen the Dumb and Dumber movie?
Yeah.
Hey, he trained so hard to beat Bale that I'd turn my head and he'd take food off of my plate. Let me have a piece of that meat. I said, Jeff, why don't you just order? I can't eat it. Okay. Well, you just ate half of mine. Obviously, you can tell that I gained a lot of weight after Stanton and I stopped going out to dinner because he'd eat half my meal.
Did the love affair? Well, love affair,
probably not the right word.
By the way, the love affair.
Then he got married, and I was just on the sidelines. The love affair was over.
Because I heard somewhere that Jeff's like, he keeps everything really clean, and you'd sort of make a mess, and Jeff would clean it up after you.
Oh, eat at his house. Napkin coming all the time. I'd eat. Next thing you know, there's a napkin. Same with Bob Hanna. I went to Hannah's house, right? I'd eat. I was eating toast. Some crumbs come down on me, okay? So the next day, and he's like, crumbs, get them out. I mean, as dirty as these guys get, all clean freaks. As dirty as, mud races, and as dirty as they get. At the end of the day, they're clean freaks. All of them. So I'm at Hannah's house. I said, I'll fix him. Next day, I'm eating toast. He goes to grab me, and I grabbed one of those little vacuum cleaners. you know, and put it underneath my chin when I was eating it, so the crumbs would go inside the vacuum cleaner. I mean, it was crazy. These guys are, all of them are germ freaks. Well, I could see why, because they got to be in good shape, you know. And that's why I don't know why anybody hung around with me, because I am not a germ freak.
So, Bevo, did you enjoy the Motocross the Nation trips to Europe?
Who, me?
Yeah,
I did. Of course I did. I went there to take care of guys with their goggles, okay? Now, at the Motocross the Nation, it was easy for me because I'd only have, instead of having 25 guys, I'd have just one or two Americans, but then I would have, you know, like Eric Geboers to take care of him. And our friend we were talking about before, the happy-go-lucky Englishman, Adam. Who would that be?
Mr. Nichols.
Yeah. And
Kurt Nickel.
Not Nickel. There's no S on Nickel.
No, Nickel.
Yeah. I think it was Graham Norse.
Oh, yeah. Nice. Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. But it was easy for me there. And the camaraderie when you get there, it's like everybody hangs out together and they're having fun. Even if, you know, Jeff will tell you a guy that he would run off the track in America, he'd probably pick him up in the Motocross the Nations. It's a whole different deal. But do you know the trivia question about the Motocross the Nations?
Go on.
Huh?
I just mentioned
America
his name.
12 years straight. Nobody wanted to be the team manager. Hey, B-boy, you want to be the team manager? Yeah, I'll be the team manager. Yeah. It's simple. We go over there with the best riders. We win. I'm a hero. Well, we got second. So the trivia question is, who was the first team manager to lose the Motocross the Nations in 13 years? Me.
No way.
Yeah, that was the year. That's the year Kurt Nichols won.
Yeah, true
Marlin
story.
and Herring. And we had LaRocco, Kurdowski, and Emick in Switzerland.
Is that right? I never knew that.
Yeah. And that's the last time I've been to a Motocross the Nations.
That was the last time.
Huh?
That was the last time.
That was your mates they won.
94.
94, yeah, when the UK won.
Yeah, but that was Paul Mallin.
Yeah.
Rob Herring, Kurt Nickel.
Yeah.
And we had a good team, but I don't know. That was the year that Albertine ran into the deer.
That's right. Yeah, Rockenberg, sorry. Yeah, Rockenberg in Switzerland.
Right. So
you're saying that's the last time you went to a Nations?
Yes, it was.
No way. I thought I saw you like in the Ricky Carmichael days. Well,
no, that's right. I went in the French one when
Ernie
Estrana was on the team.
St. John d'Angeli in 2000, I think that was. Yeah.
You know, that was the last one. I mean, probably the best one was when Jeff came from last to first. That was a good one. And
was that in Holland?
Me and his mechanic, Danny Bentley, well, we didn't take the ferry from Belgium to Switzerland. He's laughing. 23 hours later, he's wondering where we are. We're nowhere to be found.
And they ran out of fuel with the truck. How about that story?
No, we didn't run. That European mechanic that was driving on the drink. We stop. We get gas. We go 10 miles up the road. We see his truck wiggling like this. I go, I think we fell asleep at the wheel. He pulls over. He ran out of gas. We go, we just got gas. And he goes, I didn't have a credit card for there. It was crazy. Danny ended up sleeping on the bottom of the ferry, right, with garbage trucks. And it was unbelievable how long it took us to get there. He knows. He was worried. As soon as we got there, he goes, hey, I got to go practice it. And like our eyes are like held up by toothpicks because we just do 24 hours of. And I don't take this wrong, Europe, but when I went to Europe and a guy would look at me and say, no problem, it was a problem.
Yeah, but
Right,
hang on, I'm
Yeah, I'll
confused.
tell you that.
How did you need a ferry to get from Belgium to Switzerland? There's no water in between. So where were you going?
They went on something that they got up there and they were on a boat and they were gambling and sleeping and we were driving in a truck, sleeping with garbage cans, and it was definitely not too good. In fact, at one point, Dan Bentley got out of his truck and started screaming in the middle of his intersection because he asked this Honda guy a thought told us he knew where he was going. He goes, where do we go? He goes, I don't know. Danny just he knows Danny Bentley. I mean, when he flips out, he flips out. So, but we did a lot of supercross together in Europe.
I think the water bit came. They were going to Holland, weren't they? So I suppose they might have been going from the UK. I don't know.
I don't know how they got there. I know they drove a couple hours and got on something, and they were sleeping and gambling and everything. And me and Danny were in a traffic jam on the autobahn. Yeah, 120 miles an hour.
I think you were going to Sweden or Finland or somewhere like Norway, somewhere like that. That's the only place on mainland Europe where you can ferry.
No. Honestly, I think that it was from it was to Germany. Is I think that was a trip. Would they have taken a ferry going from from like Belgium to Germany? I think it was that year.
No. I don't know what you
No.
Give me a break, guys. I'm 72.
There was no sat nav in those days. I heard a story, a speedway rider, where it was a speedway rider that said the exit. It was always a wind up. It was a German word. It was a word.
Ushfart.
Yeah, and follow the signs to Ushfart or whatever. Just kept turning up every junction because.
Oh, hey, you ought to drive in Barbados. We were looking for something, 3 hours, and ended up at the same spot. No signs, just a big circle. But I'll tell you, it was a lot of fun, and it's enjoyable. And really, Stanton was my ticket to see the world. Hey, Stanton's going to this race, Scott Watanabe. Oh, then I should go, shouldn't I? Yeah, you should go.
Fantastic.
So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun then.
So what is your role now at 100% Bevo? What is your job now at 100%, or are you retired?
Am I retired? No, I'm not retired. My job is, I guess, it went from man friend. Remember that, Jeff? Then it went from, I forget, but I'm an ambassador. Like Jeff was an ambassador for Honda. My job is to go there and represent the product. My son, John Cuso, he does all the service. And I go there and, just kiss babies, shake hands.
Bevo.
Yeah, and fortunately, I've been in the sport a long time. I know a lot of people, and when I went to 100%, it was like my army came with me. Jeff came with me, LaRocco came, Bradshaw came, all of the older guys came, and just said, hey, yeah, And like today, I mean, Jeff is doing the adventure rides, and we'll help him as much as we can.
Absolutely, yeah.
And for instance, Doug Duboc come up to me one day. He got an offer from another company, and I said, Doug, I'll tell you what, I won't pay you the most, but I'll pay you the longest, because and back then there was a lot of loyalty. I mean, we have some loyal riders now. I mean, Cooper Webb is really loyal to us. Marvin Muscan is, Star Racing, Plessinger. All of those guys, I mean, they're all loyal to us. And we even got a loyalty with the Lawrence brothers, Jet and his brother Hunter. So, but unfortunately, throughout the years, when they brought in managers, you kind of lost that. The manager just wanted not even sometimes the best for the rider, but the most money.
How do you like the managers?
Who, me?
Yeah. Same as about as much as I do.
I like Jeff as his manager because believe it or not, he turned down $25,000 to stay with me. Can you believe that?
Turned it down.
And that's why he's working today. Because he was loyal to me. But anyway, you know, it's I don't know. I mean, the way the managers are is they just or agents or whatever you want to call them is they only really talk to you once a year when it's time to sign people. You know, where, you know, Jeff, hey Jeff, I'm doing an open house. Can you come? Yeah. You know, stuff like that. And it wasn't, you know, I didn't have to talk to a manager and say, hey, I'd like the Jeff to come with me, or, you know, it was more personal. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
I've just had a comment come up, so I'm going to bring it up because I'd like to thank Rory for putting me in touch with Bevo to do this interview. So thanks, Rory O'Neill.
That's my vintage team, Rory.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it.
And I told him he's been dating this girl for like 17 years, and now he had got engaged, and now he's using the pandemic to prolong the engagement.
Is that right?
So I told him if he would get married in Vegas, I'd get 17 skydiving Elvises at his wedding. Impersonators, Elvis Presley impersonators.
Yeah, I don't know whether you can see the question. It says, Jeff said that because of Bevo that he won the 91, so that evens out for 94.
That's right.
Who, me?
Yeah, because of you, Jeff won in 91. So because you lost in 94, it evens it out.
Well, I don't think I had that much to do with it. I mean, I know he was very surprised. Like I was telling you before, Adam, I never wave anybody on. Because how could I wave one of my riders on and the next guy's right behind him, right? So I did never really wave no one on until he was there. And, you know, when you get in second place with about 2 or 3 laps to go and you're like 12 seconds behind, somebody's got to wave you on. And he made it up and put 5 on the guy. That was a heck of a ride by Jeff.
Bevo, do you still attend the races now, the Supercross and the outdoors?
Well, last year was the first year in 48 years I did not go to the Nationals. And because I'm fortunate, I have with 100%, they're really concerned because I'm older, and you probably guess I have some underlying condition, and they told me not to go. And but I get a paycheck, so I'm not retired. I'm getting my second shot tomorrow, so I'll be all vaccinated. And
your second one already?
Huh?
Your second shot already?
Hey, you got to be married to a nurse.
No way. Over here, it's the rollouts. I know I'm going on to COVID now, but the rollout over here is there's a 3-month wait in between the first and the second jab, and at the moment I think we've only done up to about the over 70s, but then they'll have to wait another 3 months before they get the second one. So I'm surprised to hear that you've already had 2, or you can have 2.
Well, all I can say is only in America.
On that note, we don't want to put a downer on it, but there's that saying that it was so good that they put my name on it, you know. There you go, the Bevo Forti, the Bevo Comforts.
Yeah, that's one day I was looking at the television screen, and I'm watching these nurses that were working all day, and they had the outline of the goggle on their face, the plastic ones they use. And I said to Ludo in a passing conversation, I said, maybe we could put some foam on the lens. It'd be comfortable, and you don't need a frame. And we did it. And that's what it's called, the Bevo Comfort Goggle.
No way. So you
as they say in Wayne's World, way.
There you go. Basic. I don't know whether you can see that. Goggles for docs. They're
Yeah.
100% are involved with like giving a load of PPE.
Yeah, 100% was very involved. I know we've given away over 2,000 pair of shields, sunglasses in the beginning of this, and now we got involved here, and hopefully this may be my one step for mankind. You know.
A good one as well, but very worthy cause.
But
So-
I tell you, like I said before, everything has been a really fun ride for me. You know, everybody says, "Well, are you going to stop?" I go, "You find me a better job than this, and I'll stop."
Was the worst part of your career, Bevo, having to do that? What you told me earlier, with a certain guy's bike, was that the worst part of your career? Would you say?
You mean when I got the phone call?
Yeah.
Well, it was quite a surprise when being with a company for 30 years and someone new on the block asked me what I'm going to do, and the marketing guy, and I said business as usual, and he goes, "Well, you know, we're not going to be sending that many people to the races. Now get your tissues ready, guys. This is it. Don't tear up on me." Well, then I'll work with distributors. Well, we might get some younger guys to do that. So I thought, okay, let's see. He's going to replace me at the distributors with younger guys. What's he going to do? Hire an army? I know all the distributors, the reps. And I just turned 62, grabbed the phone, hung it up, turned to my wife and said, "I think I'm going to retire." And she goes, "Yay, yay, 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 yay. You're going to be home on weekends. Yeah, we're going to do stuff. We could go camping with Stanton again." I should bring that story up, huh? Yogi. You hear what I said, Yogi? I don't know if he could hear me. But anyway, what happened was, no word of a lie, 5 days later, Ludo calls me and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting a goggle company. Would you be interested?" Well, I'm 62 years old, and I said to him, "You know, I'm not." The story is Colonel Sanders started making chicken when he was 62, right? So I said to him, "I'm not Colonel Sanders, man. I don't know if I could start a new profession at 62. He says, "Come on and talk." And talked to me, and they hired me, and I'm really happy because the last 10 years has been really a real good time for me. As they would say, it's been a nice ride. And to feel the accomplishment of one person telling me like I'm basically washed up, to another person telling me, "Hey, we can really use you to build our company." And as you can see, 10 years later, I feel good that I had I think I had a major part in making it successful.
And Bevo, that company you left, how are they doing?
Excuse me?
That company that didn't want you, how are they doing now?
I don't know. I don't pay much attention to that. I know they're not number one anymore in the world.
That's what I was getting at.
But I said, you know, like when I went there, like I said before, all my guys came with me, Stanton, everybody, okay? And then all the national promoters, all the promoters I knew. Like, for instance, Amy Ritchie up there at Redbud, and you know, the people at Unadilla and MX Sports. You go down the list, they all said, "Hey, Sam Gammon, his big amateur promoter, goes, wherever you go, we're going." So it was nice to know that I had that kind of an alliance, and they all came with me. So what are you doing, going upside down? Anyway,
That's better, Jeff. That's good.
that was good. Standing on your head there for a minute. So, I mean, it was nice to know that all the hard work I put in came with me, you know, and so it was a good feeling to know that I was worth something. You know, when you get at a certain age, you don't want to.
Before I forget, hot off the press, there's going to be a race meeting at Redbud.
Yeah, no, as they would say, flash, news alert, news alert. Okay? The news alert is that they're going to have August, I believe it was 7th and 8th, at Redbud, the Jeff Stanton Vintage Race. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's right. That's right. We were going to do it last year, actually. And then COVID hit everybody. And so we decided to delay it a year. Not competing with Mr. Dave's race by any means. It will never be anything like that. But as we've talked on the previous podcast, vintage racing's kind of really the future of racing between adventure riding and vintage racing. It's because what people can afford. You know, anybody can go find an old two-stroke, fix it up and race it and still enjoy themselves. And so, so I decided with Amy that we wanted to put on a fun event and do a vintage weekend at Redbud. And so, we're going to do Jeff Stanton's vintage national championship. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I heard that you designed the track, and there's all kinds of doubles and triples and a quarter-mile stutter section, and you're digging it up about 18 inches and watering it, and so that 6 inches of travel that you are going to ride is going to be very important.
No. The truth is I really want to make it in the parking lot and make a true vintage race all grass. Now, how cool would that be, Dave? No jumps, all roll.
Absolutely, that parking lot would be perfect for the track.
That's exactly what I want to do, but Tim Ritchie is bonking my system because he's got to fix the parking lot back up. So we're going to have some grass, and some guys want to ride the big track with the jumps mellowed. So we're going to have a mixture of both. I would like to do one day in the grass and then one day on the national track, and just make a fun weekend. It'll be a lot of fun.
What classes, Jeff? What era bikes?
We're going off of the ARMA schedule. If you're familiar with all the ARMA stuff, we're going off of the ARMA schedule just to have them incorporated with us and keep the classes similar. Well, District 14 is the district in Michigan. We'll have that fits into their race schedule, and so just going on, trying to simplify it and going off of their schedule.
So God forbid that we can travel by then. How would a European rider enter that? Do we have to have a license? How would you enter?
You just go to Amy's website and be a part of the ARMA and, make it happen. So, no big deal. Obviously, just rounding up bikes would be the most difficult part. Yeah.
Well, I told Adam before, we're really involved in vintage racing. As you can see with the Scott Burnsworth feature, the Barstow is basically our vintage goggle we make, and it has a vintage look to it. Yep, there you have it. And we sponsor a lot of vintage races. We do the Rewind up in Unadilla. I can't believe such a young man like yourself is in vintage class, Dave.
Me? Yeah. I'm the second oldest out of the four of us.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately,
that could be like 55.
No, unfortunately, I'm very nearly 60. Unfortunately,
don't worry, it doesn't hurt. I'm 72. Trust me. I'll tell you what to do, Dave. Okay, I'll give you a little advice about getting older. Okay. First of all, you take all the mirrors out of your house, and you
I've already done that.
Right, and stop buying red peppers, hot peppers. Okay. And then the worst part about getting old is all the extra steps you take. Okay? You go out to your car. Oh my God, I don't know if you have this in England. I forgot my honey-do list. That's a list your wife gives you. Then you go walking back in your house, right? And you go back out. Oh my goodness, I don't have my car keys.
Yeah.
Now you walk back in the house and get your car keys. Then you drive out and you go, "Where's my coffee?" And look in your rearview mirror, and it's on your rear windshield, your back window, because you pulled out and the coffee was on top of your roof. That's the only problem about getting old.
Yeah.
That I could see. But like I was saying,
I suppose the good thing is
we are heavily involved with vintage races. We sponsor the Rewind up at Unadilla. We sponsor vintage races up in Washougal. Obviously, we'll be involved with the Jeff Stanton race, and we have a vintage goggle. And the sport was basically, I was saying earlier, vintage riders either they love the sport because they've been doing it so long, or they're just nuts. You know?
And most of them love it. Most of them have been past racers, and they just want to be a part of it. They don't want to ride a 450 with all that horsepower, and they want to ride what they rode when they were teenagers, and that's really what it's about.
CR 500
Well,
is not quite as much horsepower.
Right.
Hell, if I rode when I was a teenager, I'd be riding a darn donkey.
or a Hodaka. I'm sure you rode a Hodaka back in the day.
Nope. I had Osas, Makos, Bultakos, Can-Am, and then finally Japanese bikes.
Hey, Bevo, I said this to Dave in the group the last time. If we could only see the future, and if we would have kept all of those bikes from the 70s and 80s, none of us would have to work. We could just retire off of selling them things right now.
Absolutely.
So.
Hey, Adam, how about if I had my Tyrone mini bike?
Yeah, hang on. We've got it. Here we go.
That is a Bull Taco mini bike. Now, if you take a close look at it, gentlemen, look at the cases, okay? That's the same size motor that was in the big bikes. That cylinder, the sleeve, I know for the new generation, when I say sleeve, the inner sleeve in the cylinder is thick enough that you could bore that out to 360. And we put a 250 Matador engine in that bike, which was the Bultaco Enduro bike. And Marty Tripes took that bike to the Richmond Ramblers, which was a big mini bike race. DG showed up with bikes. FMFs came up with their mini bikes. Dave Miller, Mano, you name it. All the bike builders came up with these fancy bikes, okay? And we showed up with that. And there was only one person in the world that could ride that bike, Marty Tripes. I don't know, Preston Petty, had the first plastic fenders. He sat on that bike and gave it gas and threw it up in the air. I mean, but Marty beat all of those guys. We made $250, the biggest win for Bultaco that year, and we were able to drive home with money from Livermore, California.
Talking of bikes, Bevo, the other story you told me before we came on air, because we had a chat, it was just criminal that you had to do it. You know, you must have been in tears.
The Can-Am story?
No, the Bob bike story.
Oh, when Hannah left Yamaha, and I was a mechanic there. He had to bring back his water cooled bike that he won the nationals on, the first one. And at that time, the factories were just destroying all the bikes. Jeff got his, but that was years later. But when it was full-on works bikes, they'd destroy them all. I remember putting a ball peen hammer right through the radiator.
No.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Were you not tempted to, put it in your garage or something like that? Could you not kept bike?
About temptation. Fear takes over temptation.
But was it as well because when he went to Honda and you were like real good friends with?
There was a little bittersweet there. Yes. Yeah. I think Jeff ended his career with Honda. So what are they going to say? Bring back your championship bikes? No. So, and he's very fortunate. I've seen his museum in his basement. Pretty impressive. The only thing missing is a picture of me. Doesn't matter if that. Is there a picture of me in your museum?
I don't know. I'd have to double check.
No, don't give me that crap. There isn't.
I'll make sure there is.
Okay.
Are you familiar with the European game of darts, Bevo?
With darts?
Yeah. Have you ever played darts?
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got a dartboard with a picture of your face on it.
Well, I hope it's at the bullseye, man, because that's all I am is a bullseye. Don't put me down on the bottom. You know what, Dave? I meant to tell you. I have a picture of you.
Oh God, here we go. Go on.
In my toilet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, every time I look at it, I get constipated.
A lot of people say that. Funny enough.
Was you when you were in Europe, Bevo? Were you with Jeff then when you had the story with the Volkswagen van or something that didn't go very fast, and Eric Geboers was following
Eric
you?
Geboers. I used to hang out with Eric Geboers too in Europe, and Jeff will tell you that was one happy-go-lucky guy. It's a shame. God bless him. It's a shame he's gone. Actually jumping in the water to save a dog.
Yeah.
That's what happened. I mean, he had the same thing you had. He had all his 125 Suzukis that he won championships on. I used to stay at his house. And the one day we were driving, and Barack was there, and he was driving this Volkswagen, I guess you'd call it transporters, and it wasn't going fast enough. So Erickson, his big 500 Mercedes, gets behind him and starts pushing him, right? Now we got that thing going about 80 or probably 100 miles an hour now with that Mercedes, right? And then Eric looks down and his temperature gauge just getting no air because he was pushing it, so he had to back out of it. But I'll tell you, that guy, one time when in Antwerp, I was staying at his house, and that's when he was sponsored by Innsbruck and the ice cream company.
Mm-hmm.
And we're on our way there, and it's like 6 o'clock. The race is at 7:30, 8 o'clock. And we're at his house. I go, Eric, don't you think like we should be getting to the racetrack? And he goes, oh, okay. We get in his car. Of course, we're doing like 150 miles an hour. Boom. And he goes up, pulls off. Now we're at the ice cream plant. He's going in to get ice cream to give to the kids at the race. I go, we get there. He puts his leathers on and goes out and races. Oh, excuse me, his nylons now, I guess, isn't it? Not his leathers. But I've had so much fun when I was in Europe with Jeff and Eric. I mean, I looked forward to going to Europe. And I'd like to go to a motocross nation. So can you guys, what is that fund that they do now? Start a fund to get me there? What's it?
GoFundMe.
Yeah,
GoFundMe, yeah.
What's that? What Motocross Des Nations or the Vets MXDN, Bevo?
I'll come to both, man. I'm old enough to enjoy yours and young enough to enjoy the other one. So, hey, I'm a versatile person. In fact, sometimes I'm big enough to be two people. So,
hey, are you guys prepared for this 3-hour conversation? Because you know that you have the world's longest talker on the other end here. He's sitting in his recliner. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. Are you guys
I'm only in
prepared for
the 80s. I'm still in the 80s. I'm not even in 1990 or the 2000s.
Before we start,
I'm looking at my phone. Go ahead.
No, I said to Bevo, I said, how long do you want to do tonight? And he said, you'll know when I've had enough. He said, show him what you do, Bevo.
I said, you'll know when I'm done.
Oh,
he'll be fall asleep right in his chair.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Well,
and
anyway,
there's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that.
Hey, like I said, I'm very fortunate.
So
man.
listen, guys. Here,
Go on.
let me check out. Let me check out. I'm looking at my phone and it says I've been here 1 hour and 7 minutes. I volunteer my time to coach 8th grade boys basketball. I got a basketball game here in about 20 minutes. The bus leaves in 20 minutes. My nephew is an 8th grader and he's a super stud athlete. So I volunteer my time coaching 8th grade boys basketball. I got a game at 5 o'clock. So I'm checking out. You guys enjoy Bevo. Thanks, Bevo, for. Go ahead.
Look at that beautiful photo over your shoulder. The Stanton
So
family.
before,
On the wall.
oh yeah,
On your wall, you got a nice photo of
that's
you,
right.
Sarah.
I've been fortunate to be married with this.
See that? Isn't that beautiful?
Absolutely. I've
Hey,
been
good
fortunate to
luck
be
with your
married to the same.
basketball game.
I've been
Good luck with
I've
your
been fortunate to be married to the. All right. See everybody.
Yeah, see you, Jeff.
Have fun.
Cheers
Enjoy your
cheers for
time.
coming
Thanks,
on, Jeff.
everybody. Be
Really
good.
appreciate you coming on, Jeff. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Great
I'll
surprise.
see you
for
in
Bevo.
Adventureland, Jeff.
All right.
Bye. I don't know if anybody else has got the internet connection. For me, it's bloody awful. You guys are talking, but I can't see anything. You're doing it. You're doing it again.
That was a nice surprise, gentlemen.
Yeah, I messaged Jeff to see if he'd pop on to say hi, and he just said yeah. So I just said come on whenever you want to come on.
Oh, good.
So yeah.
Adam, can you hear me okay? Because you're talking, I can see your lips moving, but nothing's coming out.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Bevo?
What did you say?
Can you hear me?
Are you doing a commercial for cell phones? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Yeah, I can hear you.
I've got to bring some comments up. Brian Malin, that's Paul Malin's or Malin, should I say? Brian Malin, Paul Malin's dad. Hi, Bevo. Good to see you. And still on the pipe with your wit.
Well, yep. I mean, like I said, I was never one of the guys that said, "Oh my God, Europeans are winning." That was a big stigma at one time. I got along with everybody that rode a motorcycle because we're all one big community, and we all think the same. We're trying to get through life and have fun.
And obviously, you've had a lot of fun through your career, and you're still having fun. In 2006, were you on the committee of the AMA? Did I write somewhere? I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was on the advisory board.
What was your role in that?
I was representing the privateers, the private riders. And unfortunately, I would have a meeting at the riders' meeting, and I'd say to the privateers, if you have any gripes, don't go in a little huddle and yell what's wrong. Give them to me, write it down, and I'll present them at the meeting. No one ever gave me one.
No way.
Nope. So I was on that for about a year or so, and sometimes I felt like my role of being an advisor wasn't really being used. So I figured, why should I go to meetings? And I basically resigned. But I've been on the advisory board for AMA. I was on an advisory board at Loretta Lynn's, So I'm fortunate that I have been involved in moving the sport along, I could say.
Bevo, I got a question for you, but just a schoolboy question. Your favorite era of motocross?
My favorite era of motocross? Well, I saw Tom Brady the other day they asked him, is this Super Bowl the best one ever? And he says, no, they're all the same. Every era was good to me in different ways. When we were privateers, that era, we got to meet a lot of nice people across the country. I'll tell you an example of that era was we were riding for Team Bull Taco. We were actually Team Bull Taco. And our deal was $75 a week for parts with a $200 piston. So, and we got a gas card for gas, and it was a Trans Am, so they gave us the address of every Bull Taco shop that we would be in that city. And we would go there and we'd work on our bikes there. And then the next thing you know, they'd invite us to their house to eat. And then we made friendships all across the country in that era. For at one time, we didn't have a hotel room for 3 months. We were taking showers under hoses at taco shops. And it's that's why when I talk about vintage people, they built the sport. The old taco dealers, the old Mako dealers. I mean, everybody went there. If you were in a cold climate, you'd go there, go around the potbelly stove and talk about what was going to happen in the spring. It was like a hangout, So that era was fun. And then the era of me just being able to, when I was going to European races, I went to 6 days, I went to Motocross the Nations. I mean, that was a fun era because I was seeing the world, meeting more people, and enjoying it. And now today, what I want to call the era I'm in now, I'm really happy with the company I work. And if you're happy with the company you work with, is that you don't even feel like you're working. You're just enjoying life. And that's so basically, if I had to pick an era, they're all good. They're all good. And as well as I do, Dave and Adam, you make your era yourself.
Yes, agree.
It's, I don't want to sound whatever. I don't want to sound like a psychologist here, but that's how it works. I mean, I learned to enjoy the moment. And I said earlier, I have a little bit of a theory. Every time you go somewhere, make a memory. Because someday you'll be laying in a hospital. And if that's all you have left is memories, they better be good. In fact, Larry Myers told me that. And it's like I said, I'm a very fortunate person to be in this industry 50 years and feel like I've never worked a day in my life.
What about riders, Bevo? Have you got any riders through your career that you looked at and thought that really stood out? Not that you've got a favorite, but was your favorite that stood out? Or
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, I hung around with Bob Hanna. Okay, I mean, I spent time at his house. I'll give you a good Bob Hanna story. Ready? I was at his house up in Sun Valley, Idaho, and I was sitting there, and obviously I'm on a diet every other day, so I'm up there at his house, and it's around Thanksgiving. He loved Haagen-Dazs ice cream, so he had like 5 quarts of Haagen-Dazs ice cream in his freezer. So I'm at his house, and he goes to bed a little earlier than I do, and I watch TV, and man, I said, Haagen-Dazs ice cream, right? So I would go in there and I'd eat the ice cream, and then fill the container up with water and put it back in the freezer, right? And he'd come in the morning and feel and go, I'm really proud of you on this diet. This ice cream's in here and you're not eating it. I said, yeah, Bob, I'm serious, So next day he goes to bed. I take one. I got all 5 of those things filled with ice water, right? And he pulls it out and he's going, man, this feels awful hard, And he said, I think I'm going to have some ice cream. I said, well, I think I'm going to go downtown to buy something. Okay. All I hear is I'm going out the door. You fat rat! You ate all my ice cream. So I mean, it's kind of a funny story because I pulled something over on Hannah.
Are you still in contact with Bob now, Bevo?
Yeah. We got in a little business venture a few years back, and we bought like this place up in Idaho, and I talk to him as much as I can. One thing about Hannah, there's 2 things he doesn't like, and one is talking on the telephone.
Yeah, he is.
And the other thing was when he was at the race, he'll sign as many autographs as you want after, but don't ask him when he's walking through the pits going before the race because he was a serious guy there.
Yeah, I've never met him. He's one of the, to me, he's the one guy I've still, in my lifetime, I still want to meet him. He's, just like because he never came to Europe to race. Apart from that, I think it was that One Nations he did in '78. We never got to see him.
Yeah, that was when it was the Motocross the Nations and the Trophy the Nations. It was one in Germany.
Yeah.
It was funny because at that time, he was just beating everybody. And all of a sudden, we're racing there in Germany, and Bob's got the lead, and this guy comes up and passes him, right, on a Yamaha. Bob comes in and goes, "Who was that joker on a Yamaha? Nobody should ever beat me in a Yamaha." And I go, "I believe his name is Heikki Nicola, the current World 500 champ." It was funny because he never knew anything about racing. It wasn't like today where you go through all of the amateur stuff and, he was just a desert rider. And one time he actually said, "Why should I race the AMA?" Because I guess Weinert was out testing or something. And he beat Weinert at Saddleback. He goes, "Why should I go to that series? I just beat their champ, He knew nothing about it. So, he was when you say favorite, I'd have to change the word favorite to friend.
Yeah, got you.
Okay.
Next time you're on the phone to him, put a good word in for us, will you? I did speak to him on the phone probably about 6 or 7 years ago about coming over to our event, just not to ride, just to wander around. And to be honest, he wasn't interested at all.
Well, the thing is he's pretty busy. He brokers airplanes now, and the only way you can get him to go anywhere is call Eddie Cole.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Eddie, for some reason, Eddie Cole gets him to go anywhere. He'll come to the race and I'll go, "What does he have? Some pictures? Are you doing something wrong or something?" But Eddie Cole, I don't know what it is, but he'll go places. If you get Eddie to tell him, "Hey, let's go," he might go.
Just educate me. Eddie Cole owned a aftermarket business, didn't he?
Yeah, Eddie Cole, he's got Matrix.
Got ya.
And like I was telling you before, the gentleman that really got me in the business side of it where I am today was Scott Watanabe, and he owns Mobius, the knee brace company.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons also a reason why I really didn't mind leaving my other goggle company, because he left. He got kind of railroaded out, and he really built that up.
Let's go for a quick commercial break as you're talking about your goggle company, because this is a nice video. Give some of the viewers some motorbikes to watch, and the goggles, of course.
In the heat of battle, any edge counts. Seeing the line, taking the whole shot, passing the fastest. Wide open, unhindered, ahead of the pack. Giving it 100%. Redefining vision with the Armega.
Commercial break. This is so professional, isn't it?
Well, I tell you, that was great. You might have got me 2 or 3 more years at work for showing that.
Hey, listen, but Bevo, who do we have to speak to try and get 100% involved with the VMXDN?
That's in Europe, correct?
Yeah, Farley Castle, yeah.
You'd have to talk to probably it's in the UK, our distributor.
Okay,
Army
which I
Corps.
think it used to be Decade. Is it still them?
Well, I hate to. I'll use the pandemic as an excuse. I really don't know who our importer is in England, but I would have to say that's who you'd have to ask.
I'll find out.
In,
Right.
in
Or
the
maybe
age,
after this, maybe I could tell them to help you after this show.
Perfect.
When we do Bevo Part 2.
That'd be even better.
what was an interesting fact actually about Bevo? He doesn't own any race shirts or anything like that, you know, and he could obviously own thousands and hundreds.
No, I have my memorabilia is like I said in my memory. So I
Yeah.
hope I never lose my memory. I mean, I don't have any Bob Hanna stuff, no Damon Bradshaw stuff. You know, I just don't have. I never collected it because I was there working. I wasn't there souvenir hunting. Even when I bring my family, and which was very instrumental in my success because my wife used to feed 50, 60 people a weekend out of our motorhome with hamburgers and breakfast sandwiches. And, you know, I was telling them before, I brought this one guy over and I said, hey, can you make Rob a sandwich? Oh, yeah, yes. And I left. And he had sleeves, you know, and sleeves weren't popular then. And she looks at him and she goes, you're such a young man. Why did you do that to yourself? You know, and she's asking this. And the next thing you know, I come walking in. I said, did you give Ice something to eat? She goes, what do you mean Ice? His name is Rob. I said, yeah, hon, but this is vanilla ice.
No way.
Yeah, because I gave him goggles, right? Jimmy Johnson came when I saw him last time at the Supercross. He says, you know, you were the first guy to ever give me anything. You know, the NASCAR champ and Boyer and Gordon, all those guys were with Team Green at one time, and I was helping them. And it's really funny that these guys that are such icons in other sports still remember old Bevo.
Adam's probably too young to remember Vanilla Ice, aren't you, Adam?
Ice, baby, you don't stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back with a brand new edition.
Yeah. Well, I got him to sign a broom in our motorhome. I gave it to my wife. I said, here's a souvenir from Vanilla Ice.
Yeah,
we had a lot of people. Like at one time, we were like the only hospitality at the races. And if anybody would come, like this guy named James Brown was doing a feature on not Malcolm, James Stewart, right? And they go, well, take him over to Bevo's house. You know, take him over to Bevo's motorhome. They'll take care of him, you know. So he'd come over and, you know, my wife's there, his coffee when he wasn't doing his job. So, I mean, we were like the unofficial hospitality at the races. You know, somebody from outside the industry would come, they'd bring him over to us. And it was pretty, I'm happy that my family was really involved with the sport also.
That's what I think's great about motocross. I was lucky to do it as a kid, and like every weekend as a family, we'd go to the races. I think it's a shame it's got so expensive. I suppose a lot of families can't afford it.
Well, I actually asked Scott Watanabe at Scott if I can buy a motorhome, and they'll lease it off me. We got it painted with flames on it, and we went to the races, and that was the way I could bring my family. It was a heck of a lot more work for me. I mean, it's a lot harder to wash a motorhome than it is a man, you know, and it was a lot of extra work. But in the end, my family came and went places, and it was enjoyable for all of us.
I want to bring a few comments up because everyone's been loving it. Then Rory's been on again. I hope he's been keeping his minister's license up to date, because when this COVID is over, he's still a wedding to perform. Is that true?
Something else will come up, Rory. Don't worry. If you ever get married, I will definitely perform the service. But I would rather see you do it with somebody really a real guy instead of me. Okay.
But are you like? Can you do a service? You are like an ordained minister.
Oh yeah, you could go on the internet and become an ordained minister for $69.95. You know. And hey, and they'll send you a video package that you can take videos. I mean, no, that's all. I'm not. You really can become an ordained minister on the internet.
We got another comment from Scott Wadman. Tell us about your time with Ron Lachine, please.
Well, Ron Lachine and I got along very well. He's a very good. I mean, he's got a heart as big as gold. Unfortunately for Ron, he was at the age where he got a lot of money fast, and he had a lot of Klingon friends, you know, and I think that was one of the problems in his career is that because you ain't gonna find that kid had so much talent, it was incredible, you know, but he just spent his money the wrong way there for a while, and. When people would be on Ron Lachine, I'd go yakking, saying stuff bad about him. I go, listen, I was a screw up at 18 with no money. I'd have been real screw up if I had money, you know. But then he's come around and he's really. I got to work with him that one time. Me and Dick Lachine, his dad, at San Diego Supercross when he won the race on the stock Yamaha. Well, it wasn't really stock. I got a bunch of my buddies to help me get it going. And it was funny because whoever got that bike when he sold it, it's probably still together now. Because Ron Lachine's dad said, we should red Loctite every nut and bolt on that bike. Now, you know, red in the Loctite area is a lot stronger than that blue Loctite, you know. So whoever bought that bike could never take it apart. But we went down there. I took him in the old Scott van, and we went down there and won. And it was pretty exciting for all of us. But I really like Ron Lachine to this day. If we're at a dealer show, because he's there obviously with Maximum, if he's like on the other side of the hall, he makes it his point to come say hi to me.
Oh, nice.
And he's basically a real nice person.
Yeah, no, he is. Absolutely.
Just ran into the wrong crowd that rather go to the river and spend all of Ronnie's money.
Yeah. Bevo, another schoolboy question for you. You've mentioned Eric several times. So apart from Eric, who was your favourite, or you know, the European riders that you thought were good?
Well, I had a couple, you know. We had Peckerman, you know. He was a real good guy. And also we had oh man, I can't, you know, sometimes I do fade a little bit with my memory, but he's in charge of KTM racing. He got hurt. He's in a wheelchair.
Heinz Kindergartner.
Oh, Heinz Kindergartner. No, not his son, but Heinz was another one. No, I actually.
Oh, sorry, Pitt Byra.
Who?
Pitt Byra.
Yeah, Pitt. Yep. I worked with Pitt over there. Sorry, Pitt, about not remembering your name offhand, but I enjoyed him. And also, I mean, I really liked Sylvan Geboers when he wasn't racing. I didn't know him. Obviously, you know, Roger, when he was still over in Europe and not here. Unfortunately, I got to meet Joe Robert a few times. God bless him, too. And, you know, there's so many of the older gentlemen like Harry Everett, Stefan's dad, I knew good. You know, and when I go over to Europe, he always greeted me well. I didn't get to know Stefan as well as I probably could have, but I did have occasional talks with him. Hey, how are you? That kind of stuff. But basically, the Geboers family, I really liked Sylvan and and Eric. In fact, Sylvan came up to me one day and says, "Hey, Bevo, who would be somebody that maybe we should hire in Europe?" When he started the Suzuki team. And I said, "Well, I'm going to tell you, kid, he's having a little problems doing a deal in America." I said, "You ought to look at Donnie Schmidt. Donnie Schmidt, he number one, grew up in Minnesota, so he knows how to ride sand and mud, and that's where he's going, to Europe." And Sylvan hired him, and he became a world champ. You know, so at one time I really helped a couple of riders like Ty Davis in America. The Suzuki guy at that time in America came up to me. His name was Toshi Suzuki, and he said to me, "Hey, who would you hire for 125?" I said, "Well, this kid here has got a lot of talent, Ty Davis, but no one's picking him up, and he got a Suzuki ride." And so in the old, like back in those days, people actually came up and asked me, and I got quite a few rides for some guys, especially Supercross rides in Europe.
Sounds like you weren't just the first man friend; you were one of the first managers.
Unpaid.
Unpaid.
Yeah, I didn't want anything. If I could help a kid out, why wouldn't I?
No, fair play. Listen, Bevo, were you in the Nations in '86 in Italy, Majora? Were you there?
Yes, I was. That was the first year they went to all of the. That must be Johnny O'Mara.
Okay, now this guy here.
Yep. Yeah. How long did Johnny O'Mara hold him off on a 125?
Right. No, tell us the story. Tell it. But no bias, dear. Tell us, you were there, we weren't, and most of the people watching this weren't there. What happened?
What happened? We won America, obviously.
I know you won.
But, yeah, I mean, Johnny O'Mara got the whole shot with all those that's when they start combining the 125s and the 400s and 450s or whatever they were back then. And Johnny O'Mara got the whole shot, and I believe he beat Thorpe over there or held him off for a long time.
He did, yeah. Dave didn't have a back brake on his bike, but a lot of people airbrush over that issue. But, you know, you were there. Was that one of the best Nations that you'd ever watched? You know, with you know, what was it? Bailey, Stanton, Bailey, Johnson, and O'Mara.
Well, that was. I'll tell you what. It was a very nice course. It's a beautiful course. It was well groomed. Yeah. And of course, what motocross nation isn't fun to watch if you're in Italy? Come on, those fans are crazy in Italy, you know. So Italy is one of the places I enjoyed going to races a lot, you know. Obviously, the one that I was the team manager and we lost, that isn't really a fond memory. But the one where Jeff came from behind, that was a great race. You know,
what's your take on Team USA of the last couple of years, you know, with guys not, you know, the top guys not really wanting to ride for the team?
Well, the problem there is we have a much longer season than Europe, okay? I mean, they're doing 16 Supercross races, which is really week after week, you know, on the edge. Because, you know, in a Supercross, it's that over. You could miss a double, miss a shift, you know, anything. So that's a real intense series to be involved with for 16 weeks. Then you have a week off and you go out to 12 nationals. So that's 28 races in a row. Then you get a week or two off and you're going to the Motocross the Nations, you know. So a lot of the guys just, you know, and then right after the Motocross the Nations, there's the Monster Cup, okay? So basically, you know, it kind of lost its oomph for us, I believe, when we were so dominant all those years. I know we haven't been dominant now, you know, but I don't know. I just think it's something that it's up to the rider if he's tired of racing that year. That's all I can say because of the long series.
I'd say it's very much like the UK football scene, you know, or you call it soccer over there. You know, a lot of English players retire from say they're not going to play for England anymore way before they're going to retire. because
Right.
they play so much football, I suppose, and they get so much money. It's almost like clubs bigger than the country now. It's like Supercross is bigger than.
And you go to the Motocross Nations, you twist something, and the next week is $1 million purse. With the Monster Cup. So I just think that maybe with the new generation that have dreamt. I don't think the dream of racing that race is like it used to be.
No.
But now I think that it will come back. I think now the new generation, because if you got a guy that's been going to that race for 3-4 years in a row, all of a sudden it isn't sort of like where he wants to be on a weekend off.
Yeah.
Would you like to see motocross as a sport mix it up a bit, like turn up to a grass field sometime? Just a one-off meeting with a younger generation, like when you used to go to Unadilla and it was like a foot high grass or whatever.
Well, at one time, Unadilla was high grass. Is that what you asked?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, today you can't really only have one race at a racetrack anymore because of all of the expenses to keep it going. The insurances and everything. So the day of, I think the actual going there, like I told you before, I was at Unadilla, I was in the mechanics area, the grass was high, I end up stepping in a hole and almost get run over, But I think that with the expenses of today, that you have to use your track more. Unadilla uses their track they were doing GNCCs on it for years. Now they're doing J days on it. And then they built the amateur, another track in the back. They had to get more events than just one. So the days of somebody actually getting on a grass track I think that's the only thing left is a golf course. And everybody says they'd love to race on a golf course, right?
Yeah.
Well, come Farley Castle's.
Yeah. No, we do. Yeah, we do a pretty good job of going to a grassy field once a year.
Well, what was that? What was the Motocross Nations where it rained so bad?
Fox Hills.
Where?
Fox Hills.
Fox Hill would probably be my worst one.
Yeah. Oh, that was awful.
I was wet for 3 days. And on that last race when Stefan came around and I'm waiting, he must have had a 45-second lead on the first lap. It was terrible when you're watching the best guys in the world not making it up the hills.
Yeah. But you can,
pretty wild.
You can imagine how bad it was for us. We barely got to see any top American riders, and we had Ricky Carmichael, John Dowd, and Doug Henry turn up on our doorstep, and then it chucks down with rain. That race, it was a great event. I enjoyed it. It was a great weekend, but it didn't pan out as I expected it. I wanted to see a young Ricky Carmichael on that pro circuit, Kawasaki, do well.
And you had Doug Henry and you had John Dowd that were probably two of the best mud riders in America.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you remember the Spaniard who did very well there?
All I remember is on the second day, turning to somebody in the crowd and I go, "Are you nuts for being here?" It's poured all day. It was unbelievable. And probably the neatest, most exciting thing to see was Everett looked like he was on a dry track.
Yeah.
But and that's when they were racing 650s, wasn't it?
Do you know what? I think there was some funny 4-stroke rule. Yeah, I think one of the class of bikes might have been to accommodate the Huskies, I think. Right.
I mean, it was definitely would have been a beautiful race to watch because spectators could watch that whole up and down section. I mean, it's there was some of the racetrack you couldn't see, but that track you could see about 50% of the race.
Yeah.
So it was a shame because I mean, I'll tell you why you enjoyed it, and I didn't really kind of like it because I was building goggles,
Yeah. No, I
trying
was
to
just
keep goggles on people's face.
I was just going to ask that. So, for educate me. I have no idea what goes on with with somebody preparing a rider of that ability's goggles. What would that weekend of entailed? How many pairs of goggles would you go through?
Well, my son right now is building probably for 25 racers. Okay. And what he has is like he'll have one for the time trials, three, probably 6 pair for each racer. So he's making close to $150 a weekend. And that's in an indoor stadium.
Yeah.
Now, when we go outdoors, he has to have that many, and then he has to have a backup of wet weather goggles. The film system with the, and it's really a lot different now than it used to be, because right now with our goggle, you could actually put 28 tear-offs on and look through 28 with the new book tear-offs. You can put 28 tear-offs on, and it's like looking through maybe 2 or 3 of the old ones.
Yeah.
And now, for over the film systems, we have a tear-off system that actually seals all around the goggle, so nothing can get in, and you got another 20 pulls before you get to your film system. And the secret of a film system is you can't get the first 2 laps when you're still bunched up, and you can't really move out of the rut or out of the line, to pass somebody. I mean, that's when you blow all your stuff off your face.
Yeah.
So now you got 28 tear-offs over a film system. So, and the film system's wider now, and I mean, it's the goggles are a lot different than when I was dealing with them.
Yeah, I mean, as a at Farley, I'm speaking as a race promoter, and as the guy who has to go round on the Monday and the Tuesday after the event, picking up all the tear-offs, off the ground. It's not a fun job, and I can see the day coming pretty soon where tear-offs are going to be a thing of the past. Are the goggle companies trying to make something that, I don't know, maybe it's environment, I'm not something environmentally friendly, or I don't know, something different than tear-offs?
Well, that's why, for a lot of years, Smith had a patent on that tear-off system. I mean, a film system, okay? Well, that slowed down the evolution of it, okay? It slowed it down because they had it. There was no competition, so it just was the same one. Well, since then, I mean, if you look at our present day film system, it's wider, it's got a better ratchet system, and it's got covers to put over the film system, the canisters, and so we are ready, because if that's all you have to use, you got to have a good film system. And I feel that we have one of the better film systems out there. When I first started, you know how the film used to get stuck on a lens?
Yeah.
We came out with the dimples on it. Well, it used to make me laugh. These guys, I'd hand them that, and they go, am I going to see the dimples? Oh, probably. We've never tested this. Of course you're not going to see the dimples, because you look right through them. Minor scratches on your lens, you look right through. In fact, before we had the dimples, I used to get a
fishing line
knife and actually scratch lines in it, so when the film would not lay flat. And Eric Geboers, when I went to Europe, he showed me about the visor. What he was doing was he got duct tape, folded it over a little bit, and then put it up there and made his own visor.
Yeah.
Okay. And I came back to America with that, and then the visors came out. All right. Same thing with the silicone on the straps. I signed Terry Cunningham, who was basically an 8-time enduro champ. And he says to me, hey, if I have any ideas, are you guys willing to incorporate it? I go, yeah, that's one of the reasons we have racers. You know, if you have an idea, let us know. And he said, well, geez, you know, when I go through the woods, my helmet, you know, my strap, it'll hit a branch and my goggles will come off. I said, well, what do you think? I said, we can't use Velcro because then you have to get the time to get it all straight. So I said to him, I said, hey, what do you think about, you know, JT had those mud gloves, those cotton mud gloves that had the dots on it. Well, I got my sister-in-law to sew them on the strap. I cut it and they sewed it on the strap. I gave it to him. He goes, man, this worked great, you know? And that's how we got the silicone on the straps. You know? I guess the good part about me being the goggle guy then was you could actually really develop stuff, you know? And same thing with the one system we had was called the Quick Load when I worked for Scott that had a actual frame that they went in. And I don't know why they ever got rid of that because I thought it was a pretty good idea. Not because it was one of mine, but I thought it was a good idea.
What about the electric one where you used to, the Scott used to do one where you had to put your hand by it? I'm surprised that never really took off.
You definitely want me to like get sick to my stomach, don't you? Because we had a manufacturer making them, okay? So we had no control. And when something, you see, the thing is when it had just the eye, well, when they put it in their bag, it would go off because it was covered.
Yeah.
And people would go, hey, I put my goggles away and it sounded like there was a rattlesnake in my bag, you know, because it was going, zzz, you know. So then we went to a push button. And then it was definitely something that was good, but you had to be a goggle guy to make it work. It wasn't just snap on and off. And that's what happened to that. In fact, there was a gentleman from your country that sent a pair of a goggle that actually you put a breathing tube in your mouth, which activated the film, right? And he sends it to us, and I'm testing it at Millville, Minnesota. It's raining. I give him the EMIC. I said, Jeff, whatever you do, I need these goggles back. Because we had to sign all this stuff that we got to get it and we got to return this goggle and all this other stuff. Well, he's going through the first turn, hands on the handlebar going, and the film's going and everybody's reaching for stuff, right? Unfortunately, I guess he might have, I don't know if he got tired or what, but he kept on going and ran out of film, right? And then what does he do? Throws his goggles away. Okay. Now I got to call up the company and say, hey, you know that pair of goggles? I don't know where they are. Emick threw them away. And I mean.
So that was an English company that designed that.
Was it?
That was an English company, did you say?
I think it came from England. It wasn't a company. It was just some guy.
Yeah.
You know, some guy in his garage going, hey, this will work, you know. What is that question?
I don't know. I'm trying to read it but not a clue. I won't bring that one up. I don't know what it's all about.
That's a long one, ain't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
No, I clicked on it accidentally. But yeah, while we're on the question front, I've got another one from one of the riders that rides at Vets MXDN. He's part of the International Air Hammer team, actually. Rob Stringer. Which riders throughout the years would you have most liked to have worked with but didn't get the chance?
Me as a racer. Hey, I worked with everybody we wanted to work with. You know, the only person that when Oakley came into the picture, they seemed to have a large checkbook, and they kind of basically I was sponsoring Ricky Carmichael through his whole thing, and his mom called me up and says, Bevo, we hate to do this, but we have to because this deal is so incredible, and da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, Jeannie, I appreciate the call, and there's no way I can match that. He was still an amateur, and I didn't believe in paying amateurs because that's not an amateur. And he went to Oakley. That was the first guy I really didn't want. I just liked the family. Okay, I think about the winning and all that other stuff. I just liked the family. Big Rick and Jeannie. I liked the family, and that was sort of like somebody I wish I could have worked through his career. But every time I saw him, I'd go up to Big Rick and say, hey, thanks, I could buy my wife some jewelry. He goes, what do you mean? Well, Ricky took all the contingency money. I got this extra money so I can go buy my wife jewelry. But that would probably be the only one that I would have liked to work in his career. I got a brief time with Jeremy when we were manufacturing the spy goggle. I enjoyed working with Jeremy too.
Was it your idea?
Jeremy McGrath, in case anybody know what I'm talking about.
Was it your idea to put a tenor lady or a sanitary towel, I suppose, across the top of a goggle? When people suffered with getting hot and sweat.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. What we did was Damon Bradshaw really had himself a sweat problem, so we got a very close foam that was actually, just there was no cells in the foam. It was just close, instead of like the soft the foam on the goggles, and then I put half of that up there and then half down the side. And then the rest around his nose piece was the regular face foam. And then I got that same sister-in-law to cut the feminine protection and put it on the goggle over that closed cell foam. And what it did was it would just make the sweat run off to the sides. And otherwise, we're talking about Jeff, right? I tried to do that to his goggle. You know what he said to me? He goes, well, if I don't see sweat on my lens, it doesn't mean I'm working hard enough. It means I need to charge harder. And I go, hey, that's great for you, but how about development here, And then LaRocco one time, he said, I ain't putting that on my face. I go, okay, whatever, That's a guy, I'd send him out with 6 tear-offs. He'd come back with 5. And I look at his goggle, he could hardly look through it. I go, Mike, why didn't you do this? You got 5 of these left. And that's all you could put on a goggle. When I was doing it was 5, because then it would just get blurry. That's because of the thickness of the tear-offs. So,
before I interviewed this started, obviously, and you sort of, I read up.
You mean during rehearsal?
Yeah, read up stuff, and it got me thinking. Actually, it's like one of these things you take for granted, but when you start thinking about it, it's so important to be able to see, isn't it? I never really thought. I just get a pair of goggles and stick them on or whatever, but it's just really important to be able to. As soon as you take your goggles off, that's it, game over.
Well, at the Motocross Nations at Unadilla, there was one guy left with his goggles on, and it was Bob Hanna. He was wearing Smith at the time, and he was wearing roll-offs. You know what he was doing? He was pulling the film halfway and riding with one eye. That way he got twice as many pulls. In a mud race, you have to be a smart racer too, You just can't.
Yeah.
We interviewed a rider called Greg Hansen, who he's a good rider, he was like British champion and stuff, and one of his proudest moments was going to the Motocross Des Nations in '87 at Unadilla, and it was when Bob Hanna was riding. And how did you get on? And he said, I got lapped by Bob Hanna.
Yeah, well, He's in a club that has a lot of members being lapped by Bob Hanna.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Bevo, we've been on nearly 2 hours and we've hardly scratched the surface, but thanks. It's 9 o'clock here, UK time. Thanks very much for sparing us a couple of hours of your time.
Well, let me tell you, gentlemen, anytime you don't have anybody to talk to, call me. I'll be more than happy. I don't know if it's, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, like I said, we're in the 80s. I still got 2 decades to talk about.
Yeah. We'll do the 90s next time.
Well, hey, I enjoyed it, and
thank you very much.
I have to say one thing is my parting message always is when I'm on a race, I always say God bless America. Well, I want to say God bless the world. How's that?
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant.
And I enjoyed it. And like I said, anytime you want to talk to me, I'm more than happy to talk to you. It's nice for an old fart to still have a scent.
Thanks very much, Bevo. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
All righty.
Cheers, Bevo.
Adios.
Cheers, Dave.
Cheers, Adam.
Yep.
Cheers, Bevo. Thanks for coming on. It was a real pleasure to speak to you, and hopefully see you at the races. All the best.
Yeah, like I said, if you ever need me again, give me a call.
Cool.
I know you probably got a lot of people doing. Like I said, I've watched it. You do a professional job, and if I could help you in any way, you let me know.
Brilliant. And we're end with some 100% product, as Bevo's given up his time for like 2 hours of his day. More than that, most probably 3 hours, chatting to you earlier on, etc., sorting stuff out, making sure it all worked well. So thank you very much for Bevo for coming on, and be safe. And like you say, God bless the world. I agree with you. All the best, buddy.
Cheers.
Cheers.
In the heat of battle, any edge counts. Seeing the line, taking the whole shot, passing the fastest. Wide open, unhindered. Ahead of the pack. Giving it 100%. Redefining vision with the Omega.